Materials Matters in Textile and Fashion Design Education, by Sonia Seixas, Johnny Montagna, and Maria João Felix from Portugal, with special acknowledgement to FCT, CIAUD, and Lisbon School of Architecture from Universidade de Lisboa. This paper intends to reflect on the importance of the choice of materials during the concept phase of fashion and textiles products and its relation between design and the academia for the sustainability of the future. Textile and clothing industry has had a relevant place in the industrial landscape worldwide in volume of business and employment. However, it is also considered one of the most polluting. So, industry should be rethought in a practical action approach to planet and consider the three pillars of sustainability: economic, environmental, and social in a circular economy dynamic. Ellen MacArthur Foundation created the Circular Fiber Initiative that was the beginning of awareness of the circular economy connected to the textile universe. This initiative promotes a transition from the traditional production system to renewable energy sources based on a circularity dynamic between economy, environment, and society, keeping products in use through a circular system. In a practice of sustainable consumption, designer and users are responsible for their decisions. However, radical change is needed, containing a new vision focused on circular economy mindset in a search for sustainable solutions in the relationship between production and consumption. Fashion and textile designers must collaborate at all stages of the product chain and understand the emotional connections that a fashion or textile product acquires for the user. Changes in curricula are required. Transformation into a systemic vision of sustainability in education and society. Fashion and textile design products should consider the importance of the choice of materials in the creative process and their life cycle, as well as ecological materials, for a more conscious and clean creative design thinking from a critical perspective of ideas and possible paths to follow. Thus, it is important to reflect on the relations between practice and research, between doing and reflecting, and between implicit and explicit knowledge. A recent study by Ellen MacArthur Foundation states that a circular economy can be characterized as regenerative and restorative, a continuous cycle that preserves and enhances nature, creating business and economic opportunities. Cradle-to-cradle philosophy states that in product development we cannot only consider the natural resources used, but the life cycle of materials enabling their reuse for disposal also should be considered, with a central focus on the recovery and reuse of resources indefinitely in a circular dynamic. Manzini and Vezzoli mention the importance of the designer's role in the creative process that should consider the product life cycle and ponder the environmental, economic, and social impacts in the initial phase of the project. Designers should go even further, with socio-ethical concerns in relation to the well-being of the human being, collaborating closely with stakeholders for a systemic and sustainable change. Kate Fletcher points out that the life cycle of a garment starts with the selection of fiber, and designers in the creative process should take this into account in their choices by adopting sustainable practices, eliminating threats to the long-term well-being of humans from pre- to post-consumption. Tony Fry argues that designers should be redirective practitioners. Its philosophy is based on the importance that designers must have when designing, considering the sustainability of the planet, promoting transdisciplinary practice in a new way of thinking, and designing with the concepts of sustainability in mind. Reflecting on these approaches, a change from the current system to a more sustainable vision is imperative. The designer acquires a new role, Thus, he must also be a facilitator, a visionary, a future producer and co-producer, a catalyst for change. Quote, European Commission. It is estimated that the product design and development phase carries approximately 80% or even more of the environmental and social impacts of the product, including the manufacturing, use, and disposal phase. Unquote. The recycling of the textile waste can be seen as a path to the socio-economic and environmental sustainability, and in this sense, different tactics such as reuse, recycling, recovery, upcycling, but also restructuring and reconstruction of the production processes can be adopted. Sustainability practices should be assumed and be needed for a change at a cultural and social level in the search for the adoption of best consumer practices for the benefit of the planet and human beings. Including sustainable design practices requires new ways of acting. It requires thinking about the design process and the product's life cycle, proving to be complex and involves multifaceted challenges, perspectives, and approaches. The Education for Sustainable Development advocates a change in the way human beings think and act for a sustainable future. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development states that students must, in addition to developing skills and knowledge, working attitudes and values. Designers should act as integrators and transdisciplinary facilitators, and higher education in design must contribute to a social and ecological awareness, educating students to be part of a transdisciplinary design dialogue. Integrate knowledge from different fields in the search for more sustainable solutions, in an interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary way, to find new strategies and competencies, generating a change of attitude and mentality. Higher education in fashion and textile design must invoke a paradigm shift by placing sustainability and circular economy issues in the training of future designers, creating long-term changes. Fashion and textile designers should explore the link between ecological values and human experience, understanding the process of a fashion and textile product from the selection of fiber, placing central importance on this paradigm. Designer must collaborate with interdisciplinary teams, and fashion and textile design students must contribute sustainably to society, thinking and acting in a differentiating way, dissolving mental boundaries, and also be agents of a culture change. Sustainable design connected to the textile and clothing industry need to extract the maximum benefits of the products, prolonging their life, before throwing them away. Under this idea of thought, the challenge can be faced as how the plurality of these paths can coexist. There is a need to update the higher education curricula in fashion and textile design to respond to the new global challenges. The development of skills that go beyond specific design and industry training to include social responsibility, the ability to think non-linearly to solve complex problems. Expanding interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary approaches. In conclusion, it is important on creative process the choosing of materials considering their life cycle, and the role of the academia is also the inclusion of practices oriented towards sustainability and the circular economy. No less important is the collaborative work between all actors in the production chain and the adoption of more sustainable consumption practices. A paradigm shift is urgent for a more conscious consumption in a current and future view of the planet and of the human being. Sustainable solutions for the textile and clothing industry are a powerful tool to improve the quality of life and the planet. Recovery, reuse, disassembly in favor of an alternative to disposal, keeping the products in use for a longer period. Higher education in fashion and textile design should update curricula to respond to new global challenges, including the development of social and ethical responsibility skills, and understand the process. There is a need for change, to find solutions that can help industry in the sector, in the adoption of circular economy practices and the role of the designer in this path. This study is expected to contribute to the development of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary strategies with the creation of a network of knowledge between teaching, designers, suppliers, producers, where new forms of sustainable strategies can be tried and tested in an industry in constant change. Designing cannot be disassociated from the complex network of consequences and global contexts. It is one of the concerns of design in contemporary times. Thank you.